chat ready. Guess what? We're live. Oh, Stephen, I have you on. You're not allowed to be seen mode. There we go.
You like that mode, don't you?
Yeah. Well, Kevin's not going to be here tonight to protect you, so it's all hands on deck, girls.
Kevin's feeling a bit under the weather, so everyone wish him well.
All right. We've got Steve and Brett and Nick and Dan. Ooh, Ian got in at the 11th hour there. Probably not Jen Ochoy, possibly Joe LaGreca, Dorothy, John Rose, Paul Shadwell from Switzerland here after a long hiatus, and Sandy. Yeah, no wingman. What's that?
Paul nearly jumped out of his skin. He was quiet here. I guess you just came booming through.
And I was yelling at Steve when I did it.
So you are not known as being subtle.
Nope. I just want to be mysterious, but I am not that. All right. John, I've been talking to a guy about this Patreon situation going on, and he mentioned he worked at NASA. Oh, no. It's not him. No. No, I know who it was. It is Scott Howell. I've talked about Scott Howell a lot of times. He's a blind guy, helps test a lot of stuff, works with a lot of vendors. Very, very cool guy. Turns out he manages the random drug testing program at NASA. And I told him I was going to ask you whether you'd ever had a random drug test as a way of finding out if you'd met him. He said, well, that might be kind of mean.
Very nice.
Oh, and Ian, is she on yet? Rose can't see me. I am here, right?
You are here.
Are you the only one who can see me?
Well, Paul.
Oh, there. Okay, Sandy can see me. Oh, yeah. Paul said it got loud all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, maybe
only
if he's hearing you.
My yearly physical. So you guys got to remind me to do the chapter markers. You guys forgot one of them last week.
Uh-oh. Which one?
Bart's second contribution was not bookmarked. And let's see. Oh, and I'm going to play If Every Day Were Christmas at the end of the show. And I'm going to need help remembering to do it. I've got a sticky note right here that says Slough, but I probably need to stick it to my beer to remember. And I've got a big note in the show notes, but the chances of me forgetting are pretty high. Here is a link to it if you guys would like to listen to it. It's a favorite Christmas song. Okay. All right. I did a test recording with you, Steve. Do you think we're good, or should I do a test recording for the live show?
Yeah, I wasn't listening. I was preparing.
Okay, because you got a lot on your plate there, dude.
I had a lot going on my plate. Yeah.
You okay?
Well,
you all right?
I had a little technical issue. My trackpad ran out of juice.
Oh my God! You had to plug it in.
I had to plug it in.
Anybody know what movie that's from? You okay? You got her? You gonna be all right?
Can I say? No, I won't say.
See if they've got it. After I do the test recording, see if anybody knows the movie reference. Then you can tell them. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. We are excited. It's almost Christmas. Whee! Okay, and let me go back and hit play. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. We are excited. It's almost Christmas. Whee! All right. Nobody's even paying attention to us, Steve.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them saying, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know it. Me neither.
You can tell them.
Actually, I forget. I remember the characters, but I can't remember the name of the movie.
It's Die Hard 27 or what? Not Die Hard. The other one. Is it Die Hard?
The one with the guy that played the
PC,
Mac.
The PC.
Mac. What's Justin
Timberlake?
No. We're good. We're good at this, aren't we?
Yeah, it's after it's John's son, John's daughter. Never mind. This is the worst telling of a movie ever, huh?
Yeah. Justin
Long.
Thank you,
Dan. Die Hard, and it was it was the second last Die Hard. And there's a scene where John, whatever his name is, his daughter beats up on one of those henchmen, and the main bad guy goes over to him and goes, "You got her? You You gonna be okay? You all right? Because she'd like pounded on this guy. It was pretty funny.
Nurse
snuck in under the wire. All right, we better start the show. Here's the intro music, and let me bring that down. All right, here we go. You ready?
Muting. Oh, chapter mark?
No, I don't do a chapter mark for the beginning.
I guess people know where the beginning is.
Yeah, so
they're lost.
I'm gonna start chapter mark. This one, I think I'll do it on Confessions of a Coder.
Oh, okay.
All right,
got it. Mute.
Okay. Well, I could easily do intro and chit chat.
Yeah.
There, we got a chapter marker. Quit your whining. Here we go. I don't like that it makes me do another tap to start. Here we go. Hi, this is That's really thrown me off my game. Come on, start at the beginning. There we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, December 10th, 2017, and this is show number 657. Well, Tom Merritt of the Daily Tech News Show joins us this week on Chit Chat Across the Pond to talk about net neutrality. It's a rather complex topic, but it was an extremely timely discussion since in the United States, there's a vote by the Federal Communications Commission this coming week on how to treat internet traffic. Now, I got to tell you, our discussion is entirely non-political, but rather looks at the history of other services and how complicated this whole thing is to try and cram the internet into any of the existing regulations. As you might expect, if you know Tom at all, he's very well versed in the subject and he makes a prince of an effort to untangle it for us. I'm not sure he entirely succeeds because it is really complicated. Now, I did pull a bit of a fast one on you by sneaking Tom in this week. Don't be worried, Bart's next installment of Programming by Stealth will be coming out tomorrow on Monday, and in fact, it's probably out by the time you're even hearing this. All right. Chapter marker.
Chapter marker.
If there's a way to do a key.
We have someone naming themselves Podfet. Podfet.
Maybe
it could be Guy.
Oh, my slough sticker just got stuck to my lip here. Remind me to do this. Actually, I might need you to go get two things. If that's George. There, I'm gonna private message you, Steve.
Okay.
This is really important.
This is good radio.
Understand why?
Oh yeah. When by the end or early?
It'd probably be better early rather than later. You'll miss Confessions of a Coder.
Is that up next?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I can miss that.
Okay. Here we go. I debated whether to confess something to you. As you remember from our 434-part discussion on chapter markers, I had written a script to add the chapter markers to Auphonic. And with Michael from Germany's help, I'd figured out how to do the chapter markers automatically inside Auphonic. I told you that just to prove things out, last week I would use my script, and from then on, I'd use the fully automated process we'd figured out inside Auphonic. Well, guess what? My script failed last week. I was so bummed. Luckily, I had a fallback with the much better automated process, but I couldn't understand why it failed. My hero, Helma, jumped on Skype with me a few days later to diagnose the problem. Turns out that my script did not take into account a file path name with spaces in it. All of my tests just happened to be in a folder on my desktop with no spaces at all. When I ran the real file, I had it inside a folder that happened to be inside iCloud, and the path from Apple is sprinkled with spaces all along the way. Well, a little bit of time with Helma guiding me on how to fix this, putting in a few things inside quotes, and now it works. I don't know if I'm going to try it or not this week, but I do feel a little bit better having confessed to you. Oh, and I forgot to bookmark Bart's his second review last week, but that's okay because I can blame the live chat room for not reminding me. There we go. Books. HP book. Oh, Harry Potter books. I thought you guys were talking about HP calculators, and I was in that. Yes, Steve, I will. Did any of you guys use the chapter markers? Is excited about the whole chapter marker issue? Because people seem to be really excited. Oh, Alistair's starting to read them. Oh, yeah. I love the Harry Potter books. I should start those over again. It'd be really fun now that they're not, now that they don't weigh 800 pounds, right? I noticed a couple of typos in here. Whether
which one?
Whether to confess something to you and Michael from German's help. There it is. I fixed it. Remind me to push that back up. Okay, so now we got to start finding some blog posts here.
Ian says Harry Potter got him married. There's got to be a story behind that.
Yeah. That's interesting. All right. So I've already got the holiday card label thing ready. So I've already done my my chapter marker. All right. Yeah, you're walking while listening. But, you know, Alistair, you're saying you were walking while listening, so you don't really use the chapter markers. But in reality, that's probably the best kind of person who needs it, because later on you're like, oh, man, she talked about the blah, 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 and I want to go find that. That's when you would use chapter markers to go back and get it, right? Uh-oh, Alistair's not walking now for a while. How come? That ain't good. All right, here goes. Mute. In the old days, my friend Diana and I used to keep our holiday card address list in an Excel file, and then we would spend days trying to beat Microsoft Word's mail merge into submission to create address labels for our cards. I got to tell you, we were never really in the holiday spirit when we were done with that exercise. A few years ago, I discovered that Apple's Contacts app will actually let you print labels directly from within the app. As I want to do, I wrote up a tutorial on how to do it on podfeed.com. I also figured out how to print really cute little return address labels with a little graphic like a Christmas tree or something like that on them. And I created a tutorial for that one too. Now, I know you guys think that I do this for you, but to be honest, I probably get as much use out of these tutorials as you do. I do like to dust these tutorials off every year. I make sure they still work by trying to do it myself, and then I post them again so everyone can enjoy the most painless way to print holiday card labels. There are, of course, 2 links in the show notes. Now, if you're going to give this a whirl, I highly recommend following the step-by-step annotated instructions in the tutorial, but maybe you want a better sense of how this works. In Contacts, you start by making a group, and you drag in the people to whom you'd like to send cards. If you become a card hop fanatic after hearing Bart sing its praises, you can do that dragging into groups using Card Hop. I got to tell you, I bought it, and I love doing it in Card Hop. It's really, really nice. Remember, Card Hop talks to your real contacts address list, so it's a perfectly good way to just have a better UI to contacts. Well, the next step is to clean up your contacts. There's a reasonable chance that at least one person in that list has 2 addresses. Maybe they got a home and a work, or a home and a summer cottage. Anyway, you want to flip through each contact, glancing to make sure that everyone has one and only one home address. They can have other addresses, but only one should be their home address. And if they only have one, it should be called home. I got to admit, cleaning up my contacts using Card Hop this year was way easier than using Contacts. As Bart explained, when you're in Contacts, you find the problem, you have to hit edit, you start to edit it, and you always forget to hit edit for some reason. But in Card Hop, you don't have to edit and save. It just lets you edit directly in it. All right, now that you got your contacts cleaned up, it starts to get fun. In Contacts, with the holiday card group selected, do a select all in the group and select print. Don't actually print though. At this point, you get to tell Contacts which labels you bought. Oddly, that's on the Layout tab, but on the Label tab is where you define which address you're going to use for each of the contacts. Now remember, I said to make sure everyone has a home address and only one home address. This is where you tell Contacts to only print the home address. It's a little pull down. If you've got international friends like I do, you can tell Contacts to print the country as well. It's got a bug in this latest version though. There's a checkbox to say print every country except not my country. This used to work, but now if everybody has a country on it, like I've got a bunch of people with United States in it, it'll still print that even if you check the box that says not my country. Anyway, I just got rid of all the ones that said United States because I know where they live. All right, at this point, you're going to realize that your dear friends Ebenezer Schwinkendorf and Eloise McSneighbormaker have a name that's too long to fit on one line. In the label tab, you'll also find the option to change the font to make them fit on your labels. That won't work, of course, but I have tips on how to make them fit anyway. There's a lot more tricks in the tutorial, like how to add a cute little graphic to your labels. And of course, making your own return address labels are an adventure in and of themselves with their own special tricks that I've put together over the years. I really like these 2 tutorials because I walk you through all of the mistakes I make every single time I try to do it without reading my own instructions. Actually, to be honest, when I read my own instructions, I still make those mistakes, but I'm really happy when I go, oh, you moron, this is the part where you forget to blah, blah, blah. So it really helps me. And I think it's useful that way because it makes you feel not so dumb when you make the same mistakes as me. Now, go get a nice cup of eggnog and start spreading the holiday cheer with your holiday cards.
Ebenezer Schwickendorf and Eloise McSneighbormaker? Really? Allison.
Actually, Schwinkendorf has been around for a long time. My brother Grant was walking in our neighborhood one day, and he came across a mailbox that said Schwinkendorf on it, and he just thought it was the funniest thing. So, hence the Schwinkendorfs made it. I made up
so that's real.
McSneighbormaker. Yeah, that was actually a real name. I mean, I don't know what the real names were. The last name was, but
did you get the spelling correct?
I believe so. You know, from when I think I was 9 when he saw that. So
well, you always had a knack for spelling.
Yes, I actually had a boss who questioned my degree in engineering because I could spell. He said that wasn't natural.
It is not.
It is unusual, right?
For engineers, yeah, that is not normal.
Definitely not. All right, so this is going to be tricky. So we're going to have to put in a chapter marker here, guys. I know you forgot, but I didn't.
Oh, chapter mark. Yes, there it is.
Good job.
I'm on it. You can depend on me, Podfeet.
Yeah. I don't know. I had to get my own light.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay. This is.
I got your beer at least.
Yeah. Thank goodness. All right. So I have this ready. I have this ready. So I'm going to play something, then record, and then play something. Cards. Okay. Go up here and we start recording. Okay.
Dumb questions.
Dumb questions. Dumb questions.
How do I?
What is? How come I always have to?
It's time for Dumb Question Corner.
Well, Russ Sherman sent in our very first video dumb question. This has never been happened before. This is groundbreaking. Anyway, it's over on Vimeo, and I've got it embedded in the show notes, but I'm going to let him tell it to you in his words in audio here. All righty. So now
Mika joined us.
Oh, Micah, how are you?
Is it Mika or Micah?
I believe it's Micah, but we will have him tell us. All right, let's try right there. Micah Pogue and I are going to have coffee someday, and we're going to laugh. He promised me. All right, here we go. To you in his words in audio here.
Hi, Allison. It's Rush. I've got a dumb question here. You subtly dropped on us last podcast that your favorite podcatcher is Downcast. I've been using Pocket Cast because you really liked that, and I fell in love with it, and now I feel like you've gone in a different direction. So what do you love about Downcast, and should we buy it? Bye.
All right. Yeah, I don't even talk about Pocket Cast or about Overcast. So I'm sure that'll be the whole conversation next time.
I thought you did mention it, though. Yeah. Yeah, you do have a short paragraph on it.
Yeah, I do. You're right. All right. The chat program didn't like my username for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe a space in it? All right, here we go.
Yeah.
And should we buy it?
I love this question because of how Rush sounds so betrayed because I had moved on. But even better, I love this question because I have wondered myself why I use Downcast when I said to use Pocket Cast. The first thing to tell you and to confess is that I actually use both. I use Pocket Cast on my iPhone for audio podcasts, and I use Downcast on my iPad for video podcasts. But I still had to go through both apps and try to articulate why I don't use one podcatcher for both. The origination of my move to Downcast for video shows was that Pocket Cast didn't support video. At least I'm pretty sure they didn't. I sent a note to them on Twitter and they haven't responded. I said, do I remember correctly? You didn't used to do video? But anyway, I'm pretty sure they didn't. In looking at the two apps side by side now, though, to explain my usage, I've discovered that Pocket Cast does support video. So if I was to choose today, what would I pick? The best place to start is to set up our requirements. Problems to be solved, right? I do have different requirements depending on the device. And of course, my requirements are going to be different than yours. For example, on iPad, I want the easiest way to fast forward and rewind. I often miss something and I want to hear it again, so a quick swipe backwards on screen is a delightful gesture. On iPhone, I want to be able to set up playlists so I can queue up a series of short audio shows for a long run, or maybe a series of long shows for a long drive. Several of the audio and video shows to which I subscribe have very long pre-roll intros and ads. I like the option to have the shows start at a prescribed time in, but it's different for every show. The ad lengths in the shows can be very long too, so the time that I fast forward upon a gesture might need to be very long on particular shows. I'm pretty sure you can guess what shows I'm talking about. Anyway, I know a lot of people favor Overcast. One of the main features that caught people's attention originally is the way it will clip out silence. There are some shows where the speakers may leave a long pause from time to time. Removing the silence can make it more enjoyable and get you through a show faster. I've asked people who like this feature whether they gain any time on the NosillaCast, but the answer is always not much. I'm proud of that. If this trim silence thing is a feature you like, we'll add that to our list of requirements. I also really like to be able to have auto download and auto cleanup options in my podcatchers. Some shows I like to keep around, just in case, like that sweater you don't always wear, but once in a while you actually need it. So keeping the last couple of shows downloaded at all times is a handy feature. There's also a list of nice to haves, not really requirements. I'd like to have an easy and intuitive way to clean up podcast subscriptions. By that, I mean the ability to delete entire podcasts when I bore of them. Now, I know that would never happen with the NosillaCast, of course, but sometimes it happens with other shows. So let's take a look at Pocket Cast and Downcast against these criteria. When I first got this question from Rush, I figured I'd better put Pocket Cast on my iPad and start testing it so I'd know how it worked. I downloaded a video podcast, and when I hit play, I only got audio. I assumed I'd downloaded the wrong feed, so I deleted the show and I found it and I downloaded it again. Still no video. Turns out by default, when you hit play, Pocket Cast only plays the audio. But if you tap on the progress bar at the bottom, it pops up the video. Sorry, but I think that's a little bit weird. This is going to be a little bit of a theme. Well, Downcast is really designed well for video playback. Its biggest strengths are a double tap on screen, pauses the video, a swipe left rewinds, and a swipe right jumps forward. Steve and I use this all the time. You can have your hands soapy from doing dishes and still use your knuckle to pause, make a comment about the show, or jump back to listen again to a bit you missed. This swipe gesture is so important to me that when Don McAllister came out with an awesome dedicated app just for Screencast Online, I told him I liked it, but probably would go back to Downcast because of the swipe gestures I like so much. Don got the same feedback from others, and these swipe gestures were added in the next version of the Screencast Online app. Sadly, Pocket Cast does not appear to have any swipe gestures that I can find. Downcast has global controls for many things, including how far into shows to start playing. In each podcast, though, you can override the global setting. I absolutely do this on many shows from certain podcasters. On one of them, starting 2 minutes in leaves plenty of time to hear the end of the pre-roll ads. Speaking of global controls, Downcast also lets you globally set how many episodes to keep, and you can override this setting for a specific podcast as desired. Pocket Cast will also let you define a specific start time for each podcast, but I wasn't able to find a global setting for this feature. Now, I'm cautious by saying it doesn't appear to have or I can't find rather than doesn't have because so many of the controls are not easily discoverable in Pocket Casts. When I first started using Pocket Casts, it had the concept of playlists. But a while back, they got rid of playlists. I wrote to the developer explaining how crucial they are, and they explained that they just changed the concept to call it Up Next. It took the dev to walk me through how to use Up Next. I mean, reading the documentation, I could not figure out how to use it. So that kind of shows that even if the concept is good, this UI is not transparent and discoverable to the user. So let me explain it. Let's say you want to listen to the rest of the NosillaCast. When that's done, you want to listen to Chit Chat Across the Pond. On the iPhone, you see the currently playing show at the bottom of the screen, regardless of where you are in the navigation of the Pocket Cast app, as long as it's not full screen, that is. To get to Up Next, you swipe from right to left along the bottom. Now, if you have an iPhone 10, that starts to get problematic because that's the gesture bar. So they're probably going to have to tweak that a little bit. It works okay, but you got to be really careful not to be too far down. So anyway, you've got your icon down at the bottom for the currently playing show, and you swipe from right to left. At first, you'll see that your Up Next list is empty. Now you navigate to another show or the same show, and instead of play or download buttons next to each episode, everything will have changed to show only plus buttons with the words Up Next under them. Tapping a plus button adds it to that bottom bar for Up Next. You can also add to Up Next by opening an episode and tapping the icon that has like 4 little horizontal lines and a check mark. But you still have to find Up Next to manage what you've put there. Deleting from the Up Next is accomplished by tapping and holding on an item in that bottom bar and then dragging the item onto the little X symbol that shows up on screen when you tap and hold. This was a place where I had a lot of trouble on the iPhone 10 trying to get that gesture to work because it would always try to swipe in the gesture bar instead. You can also press and hold and drag the icons around to reorder them. It works, but never in a million years would I've ever figured out this entire Up Next thing on my own. I'm not sure what was wrong with the playlist anyway. Up Next on iPad is completely different. You can use that icon with the check mark to add to Up Next, but there's no little slider bar at the bottom with icons. Instead, a little list button in the bottom right reveals Up Next and allows you to edit the list. After discovering this on the iPad, I discovered that on iPhone with an episode playing, you can swipe from right to left and reveal the Up Next list and reorder and delete episodes from there as well. See if I'm going to stop. Can you fix a typo for me?
Okay.
It says deck mark instead of check mark. The paragraph that starts with Up Next on iPad.
Okay.
Second line-ish on my screen anyway. Just look for deck mark.
DEC?
DECK. Like
It's a
all
check
hands
mark.
on deck. Bye,
Okay.
Nick. Wait, I'm back to the podcast app. Instead of looking for a new podcatcher, I just listened less. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. As much as I find Pocket Cast Up Next feature unintuitive, now that I've mastered it, it works really well. In contrast, I don't like Downcast playlist feature at all. Maybe I'm a control freak, but I want to configure my playlist with specific episodes in specific order, picking and choosing between podcast series. I mean, I'm just like, I'm in the mood for this show. I want that to be in my Up Next or my playlist. But with Downcast, the only controls I can find is to choose episodes by whether they've been played, how to sort them, and a group by podcast feature. It's pretty much unusable. This pretty much eliminates Downcast for me as an audio podcatcher for exercise or driving. It's not really ideal. Both apps allow you to change playback speed, but only You know what? I'm almost positive I wrote that whole section twice. Go look. Moving. Yeah, no, I didn't. Okay. For exercise or driving, it's not really ideal. It's not really ideal. Both apps allow you to change playback speed, but only Pocket Cast has that great feature of Overcast that lets you trim silence. I dare you to find it, though. I found it when researching this dumb question, but I spent a lot of time trying to find it a second time in order to write it up. And I eventually had to resort to the Googles to find it. So I knew it was in the app. I'd found it before, couldn't find it a second time. Here's how you trim silence. You start playing an audio podcast in Pocket Cast. Then tap on the album artwork to bring up what they call the mini player. Look with a keen eye for an icon that looks like an old-fashioned radio dial or like a dial you'd see on an analog mixer. It's a circle with 4 hash marks around the outside and 1 hash mark inside the circle. I thought it was a sleep timer and I missed it entirely. Anyway, if you can find that secret icon, you'll be able to change playback speed, trim silence, and even enable volume boost. Pocket Cast wins for capability, but keeps losing for discoverability. I didn't mention it in my requirements, but we've talked a lot about the desire for chapters to be viewable in podcasts. In Downcast, there's a little bookmark symbol, and tapping on that in all versions of Downcast reveals the chapters in a podcast. On the timeline, without even clicking that, you'll see little tick marks indicating that chapter marks exist. The fast forward and back icons have vertical lines in them, which means you can use them to jump from chapter to chapter. As is beginning to be a pattern, I had to go to the Googles to figure out how to view chapters in Pocket Cast. It's in there, but I sure couldn't find it. When playing an episode in full screen mode, if there are chapters in the show, the name of the chapter you're on will be right under the artwork. If you tap on the chapter name, it will bring up the chapter list. Again, why do they make it so hard? Pocket Cast doesn't even show tick marks on the timeline to tell you there are chapters, and the fast forward and back icons do not allow you to jump to the next or previous chapter. Downcast also wins in the ease with which you can unsubscribe from a podcast. When you're in the list view of the shows, simply swipe left and tap on the red delete button and then hit confirm, just like we've been taught to in every app starting with Apple Mail. Pocket Cast has made it so much harder than it needs to be. In list or in icon view, you open up the podcast, tap on the 3 dots in the upper right, choose unsubscribe, and then confirm with a tap of unsubscribe. This isn't something I do very often, so every time I want to subscribe from something, it takes me ages to find it again. I've got podcasts in there that I just never delete because I can't remember how to do it. In Pocket Cast, I really like that I can drag the show icons around on that grid view, though, and put my favorite shows at the top. They have very visible badges on the icons of unplayed or partially played shows, so it's easy to jump into the ones I want to hear. If something has a red badge, I've either started playing it or I've never played it, and the ones that don't have red badges, I know there's nothing going on with them. It's really obvious in Pocket Cast. I really, really like that feature. Downcast allows you to sort by title, playlist priority, publication date, or unplayed episodes. None of these are what I want. I really, really dislike that I can't order them. The podcasts have tiny text under each one in the list view saying how many unplayed episodes they are, but it doesn't jump out at me like those nice red badges on Pocket Cast. Now, I always like to swing through apps with VoiceOver turned on to see if everyone can play in accessibility. As always, my skills with VoiceOver aren't professional grade, but I can usually tell if the effort is put into label buttons and make text accessible. Downcast appears to be 100% accessible via VoiceOver. I found no unlabeled buttons in my cursory pass-through, and I was looking at settings and playback features, and like I said, couldn't find anything missing. Pocket Cast was okay, but it was not great for accessibility. On iPhone, once you go into play on an episode, you pretty much have no controls other than to pause. At least I couldn't figure out how to get to any other controls. On iPad, Pocket Cast has more controls, but for some reason, the play-pause button is inexplicably unlabeled. The skip backs button default is 10 seconds, so VoiceOver simply says 10 button. And jump ahead is 45 seconds by default, so you hear 45 button. Now, if you know that 10 button means back and 45 button means forward, you can pretty much surmise that the button in between them must be play pause. Plus, if you click it, it plays and pauses. But if you don't know that 10 means back and 45 means forward, it'd be a matter of trial and error until you would have figured that out. Now, one comical thing is how Pocket Cast reads out the length of podcast episodes in some of the screens. In some places, it's written as a number followed immediately by an M, meaning minutes. So Podcast reads it out as 32 meters. Yeah, it's another thing you can get past, but not ideal. So overall, Downcast wins hands down for accessibility. Now, I don't want you to think this was an exhaustive list of everything these two podcatchers can do. They both have tons of features that I either don't use or that are just not important to me. The good news is that we have some great podcatchers from which to choose. Now, I have to say that after walking through each of the features to write this up, I realized there's an awful lot I prefer about Downcast over Pocket Cast. I'm going to try moving over to Downcast as my podcatcher of choice for audio, but I'm not sure I'm going to stick with it because when all is said and done, finding something to listen to and hit play is the most important feature. And that's the one thing that Pocket Cast might do better for me. But I'm going to give Downcast another try for audio. Anyway, thanks again to Rush for this video dumb question. I had a lot of fun trying to figure out, why do I use two podcatchers?
So Ian asked a question.
What was that?
That was a long one, by the way.
Yeah, we're 21 minutes.
Ian asked about headphones. So he said, anyone find both of these apps work well with headset controls, both wired and AirPods?
So I use AirPods, and I don't use the controls for AirPods because AirPods require Siri, and I walk by the beach. It turns out the internet is really hard to get to work well near large bodies of water. So I walk through areas where there's no Siri, even though I'm in the middle of a giant city. So I just use my Apple Watch when you're in the workout mode. If you swipe from right to left, you get the controls on your watch. And I just tap the little fast forward 45 seconds every time Leo starts doing an ad. Not that I was talking about Leo.
Actually, many times, right? Like 5 or 6 tap forwards.
Yeah, I think 8 is the most. That was when he was doing his Audible ads. It's been a little bit better lately.
Yeah, the thing about Audible is everyone chimes in with the book they're reading and starts talking about that.
It can be fun.
Yeah, it can be.
I have figured out, though, that I don't have the same book interest as anybody on the show. So, how do you change channels, Steve? You
so
listen,
I've got Bluetooth.
Skip ahead.
Yeah, I got Bluetooth. So skip ahead and back all work. Pause works. Volume up and down.
You use Pocket Cast, I think, right?
Pocket Cast with Jabra Sports headphones.
So you don't use
Bluetooth.
the watch. You use the headphone controls.
Yeah, I don't like raising my arm when I'm running. I'd rather lift my hand to my ear to hit the button.
Why did that sound funny the way you said that?
Lift my hand to my ear?
Yeah.
Does that sound bad?
Somehow it just sounded funny. Okay, let's see. Command control, enter. There we go. Changes to Patreon. It's quite the kerfuffle, let me tell you.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't heard it yet.
Yeah. All right. Dorothy left and came back?
Yes, she's back.
Did we figure out who PodFed is?
No, but PodFed's been in and out several times. Like he or she's been having trouble maintaining a connection, but no.
Are we sure it's not me?
I'm pretty sure it's not you. You're not trying to get in as a alternate person, are you?
I don't think so. Don't let me forget to do this. Oh, Dorothy got her pants on? Thank goodness.
Apparently.
All right, here we go.
Is it true? Wait, before you go on. So George, are you not in the chat room? I don't think he is.
Because we have something. We were going to tell George something.
Unless PodFed is George.
It's like Boba Fett.
Right.
All right, here we go. Nope. Patreon has been an amazing tool for podcasters to give listeners and viewers a convenient and easy way to provide value back to the shows for the value they receive. As I've said many times, the best part about Patreon, in my opinion, is that you, the patron, are in charge of everything. You get to choose how much money to spend a month or per show. You get to choose how many creators you want to support. You can change your patronage at any time to whatever you want. On the creator side, though, it's been a bit of a mystery how much money we get paid from those who contribute. I haven't spent a lot of time or energy trying to figure it out, but I understood the basic idea. Let's say I get a notice saying you've pledged $1. Doesn't necessarily mean I'll be getting $1. In fact, I would never get $1. There will be a processing fee, say from your credit card company or PayPal, and there's a processing fee from Patreon. There's also the matter of how many people to whom you've pledged, which changes my fee depending on how much content the other creators create. And maybe you've set a monthly max and you hit that before I get anything. I don't know. I know I do fine, but I couldn't for the life of me predict the revenue. So you see how this is kind of confusing? In my case, I don't depend on this for my living. I don't mind donating my time and energy. And in fact, I thrive on this, right? But having it also cost me money isn't ideal. So I like the patronage model because I get to have my fun. And yet, with your help, it's pretty close to cost neutral between Patreon and Amazon. Well, this week, the folks at Patreon decided to make the business model less confusing for the creators. And I put a link in the blog in the show notes to a blog post from Patreon explaining what they did. But the model they chose is more confusing for patrons. It's less confusing for creators. It also drives up the cost to patrons, and the smaller the dollar amount pledged, the worse it is on a percentage basis. Let's walk through some math. In the new model, Patreon will always pay creators exactly 95% of the pledges to their shows. Sounds great, right? But in order to accomplish this stabilization and predictability for the creators, they added cost and complexity to the patron side. For every transaction, patrons will pay 35 cents plus 2.9% of their pledge. Sounds predictable, and in a way it is, but it means your cost changes dramatically based on how the creator has chosen to charge. When I first set up my Patreon, I set it up to charge patrons for every show I produced. But now think about it. That means if you pledged $1 per show, your monthly cost used to be $4. But with the new model, you pay $1.38 per show because it's 35 cents plus 2.9%. And that would give you a monthly cost of $5.52. That's a 38% increase in what you were trying to pay. So you used to get this nice little $4 on your credit card bill. Now it's $5.52. Now, think about this, though. If I change my plan to charge monthly, you'd pay $4 times, add the 0.29%, I should say. No, sorry, 2.9%, and the 35 cents. Your total for the month would be $4.50. That's a lot better than $5.52, but it's still 50 cents more. So that's a 13% increase. So 13% increase is better than 38% increase, but still, why did it increase to you at all? Well, one of the promises of Patreon was that you only paid if the creator actually produced shows. And that made the per show charge more attractive in some ways. Though with the NosillaCast, you're pretty much money in the bank that a show is going to come out every week. But there's a lot of shows that are much more intermittent. Now, in the short term, it sounds to me like it makes more sense for me to change our patron model from per show to per month. The monthly plan means you'll pay in advance for a month's worth of shows, and it renews on your monthly anniversary sign-up date. If I change the plan to monthly, I hope your per show pledge will turn into a per month charge. Now, the bad news for me is that my revenue will drop by 75% instantly if that happens. But I'm still telling you, I hope that's what happens, because that's better than any other scenario, because it puts you back in the driver's seat to push it back up to what you want to pay. Your trust is much more important to me than this money. Now, I've written to Patreon explaining that I don't think they understand that the patrons are their customer. The creators are not their customer. You guys are the one paying, not us. I'm also contributing to an open letter with the Diamond Club and Frog Pants Network people, including Tom Merritt, explaining that this model is not working for us. Now, the CEO of Patreon, it's so hard to keep saying this right. The CEO of Patreon, Jack Conte, has gotten blasted over the last few days over this. People are not happy. People are leaving Patreon in droves. For some podcasters, we've been okay on the NosillaCast. Anyway, Jack Conte tweeted this on Friday. He said, "Hi, creators and patrons. I'm hearing and seeing all the feedback. I spent the day on phone calls with creators. I'm reading the tweets and emails. I'm collecting my thoughts, and we'll share more next week. I think I'm going to leave the accounts alone for now and wait and see what happens next week. But please be assured that I will do everything in my power to ensure that you are treated fairly and that you are the one in charge of your own costs. So if at some point in the near future, you all of a sudden see that your charges drop dramatically, like by say 75%, That'll be because I changed it to monthly to save you guys the extra fees. So if you want to bump it back up to something, like what you were paying before, that would be swell. I'll hopefully be able to give you a notice, but it might happen midweek. I'm not really sure. Anyway, if you have comments, feedback, or suggestion, please bring it on.
Well,
right.
George finally
George is
decided
here?
to show up. Some lame excuse like he needed to go out to dinner with his family.
Oh, what the heck. All right. I need to illustrate something. Let's see. So, George sent us peanuts from the Flying G Ranch. I believe this is George's ranch. I know that's really bright. You can't read it. These are raw peanuts. I handed a bag of these peanuts to Dorothy, and like magic, they turned into chocolate peanut clusters. I am not giving Steve hardly any of these. I think I've had 11 today so far. They're really good. Look at that. Oh, look at that.
Oh, man, those look good. Actually, I can attest that they taste good as well.
They're amazing. And the best part is Dorothy just happened to be complaining to me about the fact that she went everywhere trying to find raw peanuts with the skins on. Apparently, it's all the rage to take the skins off, but the skins leave a lot more flavor for you. So many thanks to George for that. We are doing quite well, loving those. So Brett says, I just took a bite out of my TV. Oh, yeah. Dorothy makes us peanut brittle, too. She makes amazing cookies.
Molasses cookies.
Mm. Oh, and those little spice balls with the powdered sugar on them. Mm.
Vanilla chocolate covered pretzels.
Yeah, I mean, those are practically a vegetable, right? I mean, those aren't bad for you. All right. I think now I'm going to say, oh, yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to need to put in 2 chapter markers here. If I tap here, does that select that? Yeah. There we go. If every day were Christmas. Okay. Before we get stuck in with security bits, I'd like to tell you about my favorite Christmas song. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, Allison, you don't like music. What's the big deal? But if I listen to a song and there's a visual component going on, that kind of song can really get stuck with me, and I really, really enjoy it. So the song I want to tell you about is called If Every Day Were Christmas by Slough Hallaton. He's a dear friend of ours, but I wouldn't tell you about his music if I didn't love it. Steve and I had the great pleasure of watching him working on building this song in his studio in Queens, New York. I asked his permission to give you a taste of the song at the end of the show, and he graciously agreed. If you like it, search for it in your music service of choice or the link in the show notes. And you know what? It's $1, so go buy it, okay? Anyway, stay till the end of the show after the credits, and you'll be rewarded with listening to If Every Day Were Christmas. I don't think you muted, my dear.
I did later, but partway through. Fortunately, that's not recorded.
Yep. Yeah, it's just distracting for the on-air talent.
Well, the on-air talent is talented enough to block out such sounds.
Luckily.
Yeah.
You know, I realized something while I was playing security bit, or while I was playing, what do you call, dumb question corner music, that Victor went to a lot of work to make the dumb question. It bounces between your 2 ears, but I mix it down to mono.
Yeah.
If I got an Apple Watch, would I get a credit for 12-ounce curls when I lift my beer?
You would if you put it on other. You get credit for anything when you put the setting on other.
There's a weightlifting button now, isn't there?
No, there isn't.
What?
Not that I found. If there is, that's news to me.
I thought there was. No?
Let me check. They may have added it.
All right. You check for a second. I'm just going to do a sound check here. If Every Day Were Christmas. End of the show after the credits, and you'll be rewarded with listening to If Every Day Were Christmas. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart to boost shots. And luckily, this has been a pretty quiet week on the Apple front, right, Bart? No updates, no problems.
Yeah, nothing happened in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
If we redefine nothing to mean everything.
Heck in a handbasket, huh?
Yeah, so I think...
Okay, nobody reminded me to do a Security Bits chapter mark.
Chapter marker.
On.
I got it in.
No, that totally does not count. And that's a good one to put in because I know there's a somebody who writes on iTunes every year or so how much they hate me and they only listen for Security Bits.
So you're doing it for that person.
You know what I really should do? I should do a stop right there and go, hey, Sally, this is for you. You can skip all this part with me on it and listen to Bart. Oh, good. Mike had just yelled chapter mark. It doesn't count. All right, let's see. Now, the real trick is to remind me to, after the credits, still put in Slough, right? Slough. Don't let me forget.
We can't miss that.
Okay. I can't see anything now. Here. Actually, I should put it where you guys can see it on my beer. Okay. You can't read it, but
put it on the mic.
I want it to keep coming in front of you so you remind me. It's a 12-inch curl the first time, goes down as you finish your beer. Oh, that's awesome that you get credit for going to the vending machine. It's terrible.
Until whenever, stay patched and stay secure.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Wait.
What?
Chapter mark.
Do I have to do a chapter mark for the end?
Yeah, because you're going to play Slough.
Why did refresh blog post succeeded just pop up? That's weird. No, I'm not going to do Slough now. Slough's going to be after the end.
Oh, you're going to... after the end of the show? After you sign off?
Yeah.
Are you going to play the whole thing?
I said after the credits. I only asked him to play part of it, but...
Then you better not play the whole thing.
Yeah. But it's going to be after the credits, I said. So I don't have to do a chapter mark for the credits, do I?
Well, some people might want to skip to a song.
I'm not going to let them. Here we go. Come on. What's going on? Oh, wrong keystroke. That's it. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week, but don't forget to wait until after the credits because you get to hear a little bit of If Every Day Were Christmas. Also, don't forget to send in your dumb questions like Rush did. We have video dumb questions now. Best ever. Anyway, you can also send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. You can follow me on Twitter @podfeet. And remember, just like Kaylee Dio says, actually, it's just Kaylee. And remember, as Kaylee says, everything good starts with podfeet.com. We've got podfeet.com/Patreon, podfeet.com/Facebook for our Facebook group, podfeet.com/Google+ gets you to our Google+ community, and podfeet.com/Amazon will take you to the Amazon affiliate links. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, where do you think you go? You head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. We missed you, Kevin. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. All right.
Shout out for the wingman.
Yeah, I thought that'd be fun. Just thought of that just on the fly. Look at me. Just
look at you go, girl.
I know, exactly. So I'm going to put that, and then I'm going to do Slough after that. .com/Elimazon. That is what it sounded like, didn't
Elimazon.
it? Didn't somebody say that? Who said that?
Oh, yeah.
Was that might have been
Kaylee? I think it was Kaylee.
Yeah. Amazon. Mike is speaking a little bit.
5 minutes to 3 a.m. Paul, you are a trooper.
Facebook group. Podfeet.com/Google+ gets you to our Google+. Okay, let's see. From right here. Like that. And go like that. And then that lets me do that. But that lets me do this. What?
John wants to know what your shirt says. And I think you're too low in the saddle for him to read it.
You will like it.
Yeah,
let me check the audio here. And stay subscribed. I think it's too early. That should be there, and that should be there, and this is too high. And it is just right. Oh, that. Subscribe. Okay.
Wait. It is clean, right?
Yeah, it's redacted.
Okay. I'm going to engineer the, I don't know what that word says, this blank out of it, out of this.
If you haven't read The Martian,
Little head nod to Mark Watney.
the best ever.
Yeah.
Have you guys all seen the movie or read the book?
Great book. And Andy Weir is coming out, just released another book, which is about colonizing the moon.
That should be fun.
And they're making a movie of it.
You know, I wonder what's going to happen when this gets all normalized. Okay, let me hear how this laid in here. Whoop. Nope, not there. I have to wait till it fades out.
First winter snow outside my window. Feels like that time again to me. From mistletoe, a Christmas show.
I'm going to need help knowing where to fade this out.
And the lighting of that famous Christmas tree.
One more stanza.
People are thinking
say when to stop, and then I'll edit from there.
Okay, I'll tell you when. Keep going.
As signs of holidays appear.
Well, it does sound a little like Michael Jackson.
But it all goes by in the blink of an eye. And then we have to wait another year.
Let him say the chorus once.
But what if every day were Christmas?
I'd start fading now.
Okay.
Well, that sounded like a hard fade.
No, I just stopped. I have to do some work to make it start to fade.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm moving all this down. It's a goofy program of how to fade. Oh God, I hope it actually does fade. You know, I better cut it after this, but I was going to do something like this.
Every day for Christmas, what a wonderful world this would be.
And then cut it there.
Okay. Still a
No?
cut. It's not.
Well, I've got to make it. I've got to make it. You know what? I actually don't think I can make it go. I can make it go to minus 36.5 dB, but I cannot go anything below that. I can't cut it more than that.
All right. Limited tools.
So this is what it's going to sound like.
For Christmas, what a wonderful world this would be.
That's fine.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
All right. You're eligible to retire except you have a daughter in college. That's poor planning, John. I have a friend who's
20 some years ago.
Yeah, really. I have a friend who's my age, and inexplicably, she has a daughter in like in junior high, and I always give her a hard time and tell her, yeah, it's poor planning. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but she appreciates that.
Do the math. So I'm confused by something. Apple's AAC or ALAC, this lossless format, is actually compressed, but lossless.
Yeah.
I
That's
thought
what lossless means.
No, compressed usually means lossy. How do you have lossless compression?
You can fully recover the original. There are still ways to compress and not lose anything. You don't get near as much.
Paul just pointed out his daughter's 3 and he'll be 60 next year. Yeah. Well, you've actually like just taken the game up a notch.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who plan well, there's people who poor planning, but then you're just on the other side, just embracing it.
Yeah, it's a challenge for Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's all worth it, right?
Yes, it is.
I like watching Paul and his baby girl because it's just the best example of you just have no idea what it's like to have kids until you have them.
Yeah, Alistair
Yeah.
brings up a good point. Zip is compression, which wouldn't be so good if it were lossy.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it's
Dire.
just, for instance, you got 1,000 zeros in a string. How about typing 1,000 times 0 instead of repeating
Oh,
1,000
but that's what I
zeros?
thought. Like JPEG was supposed to be doing, was supposed to go, okay, this is all the same color of blue. I'm going to multiply by 27.
It does more than that.
This is confusing. I mean, I'm done with the show. I've exported as this M4A file, and I just upload it now. And it
How boring.
I know, right? And I think I've actually figured out how to make it FTP the file up too. This is gonna be fun. New production. Okay, so select the file, and I grab that file, and I say choose. I don't include an intro. You can actually have it add the intro and outro, which, that's interesting. I know Bart could actually use that because he doesn't level his audio because it would wreck his music, because his music is this very quiet little piano piece that a friend of his did for him. Split. I don't want to split chapters, but I do want to add the chapter mark, loudness, noise, 16 LUFS, filtering. I want to show you guys what this looks like. This is pretty cool. Scripture. Sure. I haven't said anything mean about anybody, right? Actually, might be more. Let me stop and just do one app.
I'm going to have to sign off and work on dinner, Potfeet.
You are?
Yes.
Jeez. Okay. Let's see. It's this one.
Okay. Plus, you're keeping everyone
after class.
After class.
Yeah, but it's geeky. Come on, look at this. This is cool. So I'm going to choose. Oh, that's right. I choose a preset which I created called NosillaCast, and I've chosen the file. The fields I've changed is it adds the artwork. Knows it's NosillaCast Apple Podcast, NosillaCast Apple Podcast, artist Allison Sheridan, year 2017. Hey, somebody make a note to remind me in 2018 to change that. Append chapters to summary. This is something people have asked for, where when you look at the show notes in your podcatcher, it'll actually say the names of them. So if you're using something stupid like, if you're using Apple Podcasts, you can't see the chapter markers, but they will be in there. It's got my Creative Commons license. Got some tags in here. Chapter marks. It's going to bring those in automatically. MP3, 64 kilobytes per second. And this is going to be the first time I'm going to try to publish directly to Libsyn. Boy, Steve leaves and everybody's leaving. Start a production. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. If it's longer than your available credits. No, I'm fine on my credits. So anyway, that's what it was. I thought that was fun. Well, Steve left us and people are dropping like flies. So I guess the show's over. So also, everybody leaves. Now I know how it is. Oh, but it's uploading. This is so much faster. So my audio files as AIFF can be, there's a 300 megabyte one. This one was 173 megabytes instead of 300. So channeling Kevin, save. Bubbly Water, Oklahoma. Even if it's too late, save. Good job. Good job, George. All right, guys. Well, I am going to jump out. And I'm out of here. Thanks for coming, everybody. Goodbye, Rose. Rose is still there. Bye, Rose. Mwah. See you guys. See you next week.